This is part 2 of the most famous haunted dolls in the world. Let's start with Mandy, the haunted doll. Currently housed in the Quesnel and District Museum, British Columbia, Mandy was donated by a lady named Miranda in 1991. At over 90 years old at that time, it was said to have belonged to her grandmother. The doll had an incredibly creepy appearance with a cracked forehead over its right eye, causing the eye to protrude slightly. Upon acceptance into the museum, unexplained phenomena ensued. Mandy was taken to the museum's workroom for maintenance before being placed on display. The doll, enclosed in a plastic bag to check for infestations, caused a stir when the bag rustled, as if the doll was moving inside, despite no insects being detected. When left in the lab overnight, the room would be in disarray the next morning, small objects thrown about, and larger, heavier items pushed over. This repeated every time Mandy was left alone overnight, giving the impression of a tantrum being thrown. When finally displayed in the museum, Mandy, positioned near the entryway, made visitors feel uneasy. Photographs taken of the doll would often be blurred or have strange light anomalies. The discomfort experienced by visitors prompted the staff to move Mandy further back in the museum, placing her in her glass display case. The staff also noticed inexplicable events. Lunches would disappear from the refrigerator and later be found tucked away in a drawer. Footsteps were heard when no one was around, and various small items, such as pens, books, and photos, would go missing. Some were never found, while others turned up later. Eventually, a psychic inquired about holding the doll to see what they could pick up. This led to an origin story of the spirit inhabiting the doll. According to the psychic, the doll was found in the cellar of an old farmhouse. The psychic described a vision: a man walking past the farmhouse heard crying, though the farmhouse was known to be empty. Investigating, he found the crying coming from below and discovered the body of a young girl, long dead, with a doll in her arms. The psychic believed that when the girl died, her spirit chose to inhabit the doll. As strange events unfolded at the museum, the curator decided to visit the doll's previous owner. There, she learned the truth. The reason the previous owner donated the doll was that when it was in her house, she could hear crying from the cellar. Upon investigation, she would find the doll on the floor, the cellar window open, and no one around. The unexplained crying ceased from the very first night the doll was no longer in her house. The second doll is called Letta, short for Letta Me Out. Letta's story can be traced to the small town of Wagga Wagga in rural New South Wales, Australia. It was during the 1970s that a young man named Kerry Walton, along with his brother, decided to explore an abandoned house. The two men had always been curious about the property, having heard countless stories of it being a haunted house during their childhood. Within this house, Kerry made a shocking discovery. Underneath the decaying floors, he spotted something sinister that, at first glance, looked like the body of a dead child. Upon closer inspection, Kerry discovered a strange doll with a wicked grin. Compelled to rescue the doll, he and his brother dubbed it "Letta Me Out" on the long drive home to Brisbane, making jokes that the doll appeared to be moving within the sack it was being transported inside. Initially apprehensive, Kerry's family became even more unsettled by the strange activity that followed the doll's arrival. Letta would reportedly move around on its own accord, leaving strange scuff marks, seemingly from the doll's shoes, around the house each morning. Additionally, some people experienced adverse reactions in the doll's presence, feeling sick, faint, or overcome by emotion. Animals, particularly dogs, would also act strangely around the doll, attempting to bite and attack it. Given the numerous strange occurrences, the doll's owners became curious about its origins. Experts dated the doll to around 200 years old by analyzing nails under its feet. It was speculated that the doll was handcrafted in Eastern Europe, likely Romania, judging by its gypsy-like appearance. The doll even boasts a full head of human hair. A psychic provided compelling information, echoed by others throughout the years, that the doll is inhabited by the spirit of a young boy who died from drowning a long time ago. There is also speculation that the doll may have been created in the likeness of this boy. Despite the opportunity to sell Letta, Carey couldn't bring himself to part with the doll. Today, Letta has become an integral part of Carey's family, believed to be good-natured and even bringing luck to those who come into contact with it. Next, we have the Janesville Doll. This doll used to be positioned by the windows in the attic of an unassuming house. The narrative of the doll revolves around the house's owner and the tragic death of the owner's young daughter, with the circumstances of her demise varying. In one version, the girl suffered abuse and neglect, becoming a prisoner in her attic room. Overwhelmed with sorrow, she took her own life. In remorse, her parents placed the doll in the attic window as a memorial, after which the Janesville doll allegedly came to life. Visitors claimed it changed positions, and its expression transformed into anger, seemingly glaring at onlookers. Another version introduced a demonic twist to the legend, attributing the demise of a little girl in the house to demonic possession. According to this account, the child died during an exorcism, and the demon entered the doll, threatening to possess anyone who stared into its eyes for too long. The factual details of the Janesville doll case remain obscured in mystery. The house belonged to a man named Ward Went, a collector of antiques and train memorabilia. He placed the doll in the window around 1976, never revealing the reason to anyone. Went, who lived in the house since birth, passed away in 2012 at the age of 84, taking the secret of the doll with him. However, in the same year the doll first appeared, Went supposedly placed a note in a time capsule buried in a nearby park, detailing the reasons behind the doll's placement. Unfortunately, the time capsule is not scheduled to be unearthed until 2176. After Went's death, the Janesville doll was relocated from the attic window to a special showcase in the Janesville Library. The next doll I will discuss, Harold, is arguably one of the most infamous haunted dolls associated with eBay. Initially listed on eBay in 2003, its fame surged after an appearance on the ghost hunting series, Ghost Adventures, specifically, the Island of the Dolls episode. Currently owned by Anthony Quinata, who wrote a book about the doll following his investigations, Harold's story is rife with eerie details. Anthony believes that the doll is inhabited by the Prince of Hell, with the demon entity trapping 4 human spirits within it. He is committed to not discarding or selling the doll until he frees the human spirits. Among these spirits, one is named Harold, and Anthony claims to possess photos of him during his lifetime, details of his demise, and the address he lived at when he died. The other human spirits include a young woman and her younger sister, who were related to Harold while alive. Anthony had photos of them as well. The last human spirit trapped in the doll is a young boy, seemingly unrelated to the other 3. Adding to the bizarre nature of this tale is the revelation in 2009 by the original seller, Greg, who admitted to fabricating the entire story to increase the doll's value. Kathy, the initial buyer who held on to the doll for a year, was suggested to be an accomplice. Anthony acquired the doll in an auction held by Kathy, who cautioned him that she believed the doll to be cursed. Upon receiving the doll, Anthony conducted various tests using his tri-field EMF meter, cameras and recording for EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, without success. The turning point occurred when he placed the doll alongside a bottle of holy water and a crucifix, prompting a reaction. When sprinkled with holy water, Anthony and his friend heard the doll screaming in the recording. Suddenly, his friend claimed the doll had threatened to kill him, and he felt a heart murmur, as if the spirit in the doll was squeezing his heart. Individuals who read blog posts, watched videos, or even looked at the doll reported experiencing various sicknesses and problems. Notably, 2 men ended up in a hospital emergency room after mocking the doll during the Ghost Adventures episode. Another woman wrote to Anthony, sharing how her mother began vomiting blood when they laughed about the doll on the show. Anthony believes that the worst thing the doll has done is causing the death of one of his puppies named Chance. The dog had a herniated diaphragm, with abdominal organs in his chest, a condition that veterinarians couldn't explain. Before the dog's passing, Anthony recorded a vlog capturing a swarm of flies and the reflection of several apparitions, one with horns. Coincidentally, the day of the dog's passing marked the completion of the manuscript for the book about Harold. I will conclude this video with what many consider the most dangerous and haunted doll in the world, Peggy. It is said that even a photo of this doll can affect people through the screen, causing distressing physical symptoms, including cases of heart attacks. If all of this sounds too scary for you, you may want to stop watching the video at this point. In 2015, a distressed woman sought help from British paranormal investigator Jane Harris. She explained that the doll she had obtained from a garage sale had triggered nightmares and an unexplained illness. Harris agreed to take Peggy, who had been kept in an outdoor shed by the buyer. However, just a few days into her investigation, Harris fell seriously ill, experiencing hallucinations and strange noises while Peggy was in her house. Her condition only improved after another paranormal investigator removed the doll from Harris's residence. Peggy is believed to be inhabited by the spirit of a woman born in 1946 in London's Holland Park, who passed away due to a chest-related condition, possibly an asthma attack. Psychics have speculated that this woman might have had Jewish ancestry and potential ties to the Holocaust. The psychics described Peggy's spirit as restless, frustrated, and persecuted in life. While the exact identity of the entity residing in the doll remains unknown, its effects on individuals have been extensively documented. In 2015, a video featuring Peggy was uploaded to YouTube, and it has been reported that nearly 100 people who watched it experienced chest pains, nausea, and severe headaches. Shockingly, one individual even suffered a heart attack. Others noted flickering lights in their homes during the viewing. It is also believed that the entity can influence a person's dreams and even foretell tragedies. Currently, Peggy is on display at Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum, where visitors must sign a waiver before laying eyes on this malevolent doll.